After my girlfriend gave the credit for my hard-won project to her childhood friend, the company's top dealmaker, decided to jump ship. I had just spent 2 months abroad on a grueling business trip, working around the clock to negotiate partnerships and secure a massive project that would save my girlfriend's company from a cash flow crisis. When I returned home, ecstatic, I called my girlfriend, but she told me not to come to the celebratory banquet. I gave the credit to Leo, she said. He's new to the company and doesn't have the clout to become general manager on his own. He needs this project more than you do. Hearing my girlfriend's casual tone, I was in disbelief. My doubt turned to despair when the fire alarm blared at that same banquet. When I reached for her hand to lead her to safety, she instead grabbed Leo and fled toward the emergency exit, leaving me behind. My heart shattered, and I immediately accepted an offer from a rival company. Ethan, are you out of your mind? How dare you come here and make a scene at Leo's celebration banquet? Isabel demanded. Why aren't you at home? What do you think you're doing? Seeing me approach, she angrily grabbed my arm, pulling me to a deserted corner of the banquet hall. Can you please just stop? She hissed. If you hadn't insisted on taking the project that was meant for Leo, the company would have been out of trouble long ago. Why did you have to drag things out until now? I was in disbelief. I sneered. I worked my ass off to land that project. The contract was all but signed. Why would you just hand all the credit to Leo? He's a guy who can't even tell the office printer from the shredder. What makes you think he's capable of handling this? For 2 months, I had poured my life into her company. I hadn't had a single decent night's sleep, constantly running from meeting to meeting, staying up all night writing proposals, and practically begging investors. I was the one who brought a multi-million-dollar project to the table. Just then, Leo strutted over with a glass of red wine, a look of fake apology plastered on his face. Ethan, my friend, you really worked hard on that overseas trip for me. Don't worry, I'll take over the client reception and the contract signing from here. You can take it easy now. Before I could respond, Isabel scoffed. Why are you being so polite to Ethan? He's just a stubborn mule. You're much more creative. You'll definitely handle this project better than he ever could. Leo added, Ethan, don't blame Isabel. She's just worried since I'm so new to the company. To get the general manager position, I really need a big project like this under my belt. Isabel gave Leo a look of mock disapproval, her eyes brimming with affection. Leo, why are you apologizing to him? You should feel lucky he gets to pave the way for you. Isabel, don't say that. You'll upset Ethan, Leo replied weakly, pretending to smooth things over. But the moment Isabel looked away, he shot me a provocative smirk. My chest tightened, and a wave of powerlessness washed over me. While I was overseas, running myself ragged for her company, she hadn't called me once to see how I was doing. The moment Leo graduated, Isabel hired him as her personal assistant. When she finally spoke to me after my return, it was only to tell me her plan to promote Leo, who had only been with the company for 3 months, to general manager. It's time for the speeches, she said, turning to Leo. Let's go. Just leave him be. On stage, Isabel popped open a bottle of champagne. Leo immediately pulled her into an affectionate hug, gently brushing the stray drops of champagne from her bangs. Our colleagues around us watched with envy. No way, someone whispered. Did you see that? I think Leo just secretly kissed Isabel. So, they really are a couple? I thought he was just bragging. Of course they are. Look at the way she looks at him. So tenderly, it's like she's melting. They're definitely together. Listening to my colleagues' gossip, I thought back on my years with Isabel. She had always forbidden me from making our relationship public. She claimed she was afraid an office romance would have a negative impact, and as the boss, she couldn't set a bad example. She never gave me a ride in her car, yet she drove Leo to and from work every single day. She insisted we act like strangers at the company, yet she let Leo nap in the private break room attached to her office. If Leo so much as sneezed during a meeting, she would immediately halt everything to take him to rest. We had argued about this countless times. You just have a dirty mind, Ethan, so you see everything in a dirty way, she would say. Why are your thoughts so filthy? Leo is like a little brother to me, that's all. You're a grown man in your 30s. Why are you so threatened by kid? Isabel's go-to move was to give me the cold shoulder, and I was always the one who ended up caving and begging for us to make up. If this had happened in the past, I might have stormed that stage and beaten Leo to a pulp. But today I was just tired, so incredibly tired. Before I could leave, a piercing fire alarm suddenly screamed through the hall. Thick black smoke began to billow from the back of the room, rising rapidly. The crowd descended into chaos, screaming and scrambling in every direction. Instinctively, I rushed toward Isabel, reaching for her hand. Isabel, stay close to me. I'll get you out of here. Before I could react, a powerful force slammed into my back, shoving me hard from behind. Caught off guard, I stumbled and fell flat on my face. I heard a sickening crack as excruciating pain shot through my ankle. A moment later, a heavy kick landed squarely on my lower leg. The force of the blow felt like it was about to shatter the bone. Cold sweat poured down my face from the blinding pain, and my lower body went numb. In that chaotic and desperate moment, I clearly saw Leo's eyes narrow, a sinister light glinting within them as a sneer twisted his lips. "Isabel, I feel dizzy," Leo gasped, trembling all over and forcing beads of sweat to his forehead. "My chest hurts. I can't walk. Please, help Ethan up so we can all get out of here." "Leo, what's wrong? Don't scare me." Seeing his performance, Isabel forcefully shook my hand off and rushed to his side, anxiously holding him up. Her voice trembled. "Is it your panic attacks again? How are you feeling? Can you make it?" I was furious. "He's faking it. How can you not see through such a pathetic act?" Isabel shot back. "Ethan, how can you be so petty? This is not the time to be jealous." As Leo's face grew paler, Isabel's expression grew more worried. "Leo isn't well," she said. "I have to get him out of here first." Hearing her words, I felt my blood run cold. "My leg is broken. I can't stand up. Are you really going to leave me here for him?" "I already called 911. The firefighters will be here any minute," Isabel said, grabbing Leo's hand and starting toward the emergency exit. "Waiting a little longer won't kill you, Ethan. Just stay here and wait for them to rescue you." The fire and smoke spread relentlessly, each breath searing my lungs. Exhausted from days of nonstop work, my consciousness began to fade. With the last ounce of my strength, I pleaded, "Please don't leave me." As she hurried past, Isabel didn't even spare me a single glance. It was clear then that I held no place in her heart. In that moment, something inside me died completely. When I woke up, my right leg was in a cast and suspended at the end of the hospital bed. "Ethan, you're finally awake," my colleague Chloe said with concern. "Are you feeling okay? Does anywhere else hurt?" I had lost consciousness from smoke inhalation during the fire. Chloe told me she had found me and carried me out of the building on her back. I thanked her profusely and promised to treat her to a nice dinner once I was discharged. The news later reported that the fire was caused by a chef's mistake, which caused the stove to catch fire and spread. Fortunately, there were very few casualties. After Chloe left, I picked up my phone. "Mr. Harrison, I've given it some thought. I'd like to accept your offer. I can start next week." A surprised voice came from the other end of the line. "Ethan, you finally agreed. A man should always put his career first. I can guarantee you the best compensation package for the overseas position. But you mentioned before that you weren't comfortable leaving your fiancée here alone." "That doesn't matter anymore," I replied flatly. "It's all in the past." Mr. Harrison was wise enough not to press the issue. A few minutes later, he sent over the link to my employment contract. That night, after I signed it, I saw Leo's new post on Facebook. "Feeling under the weather, but my amazing friend cooked me a bowl of hot soup. Feeling so warm and cared for. Grateful to have you in my life." The accompanying photo showed Isabel, wearing an apron, washing dishes at the stove. This time, I didn't feel a surge of anger. Instead, I just gave his post a like. In the 4 years we had been together, Isabel had never once cooked for me. When I was sick with a high fever, she wouldn't even order me takeout. I had honestly thought she didn't know how to cook. One time, feeling sorry for how hard she was working, I woke up early to buy the freshest ingredients from the farmer's market and cooked her a healthy lunch. I delivered it to her office in the middle of a heat wave, drenched in sweat, only to find her flirting with Leo. "Isabel, I'm craving that hot pot place nearby for lunch," Leo whined. "Don't be so impatient, kiddo. I'll take you later," Isabel said with a smile, playfully patting his abs. But when she turned and saw me standing there, her expression instantly soured. "Ethan, haven't I told you not to come to the office unless it's for work?" Seeing the tension, Leo walked over and draped an arm around my shoulder, putting on a show. "Hey, Ethan, want to join us for lunch?" "Oh, but we only made a reservation for 2. I sneered, set down the lunch I had brought for her, and walked out of the office. After work, I saw them take the chicken soup I had made and pour it into a bowl for the stray cats downstairs. The next morning, the doctor came by for my checkup and said I could be discharged the day after tomorrow. As he was leaving, my phone suddenly rang. It was Isabel. "Ethan, where the hell have you been? Today is the contract signing for the new project. You're supposed to be at the office assisting Leo, so why are you off gallivanting somewhere?" I replied truthfully, "I'm in the hospital. I was lucky enough to survive a near-death experience." Isabel scoffed. "When are you going to stop being so dramatic? The fire department got there in time. What could have possibly happened to you?" I already called and checked. The firefighters didn't see you, and the event staff said you left on your own ages ago. Yesterday, you were pretending to have a broken leg, and now you're pretending to be hospitalized. Leo is just a good person and isn't holding it against you. I'm giving you 10 minutes. Get back to the company right now." I slowly peeled the orange the patient in the next bed had given me. "Leo is so capable," I said slowly, "and you have so much confidence in him. I wouldn't want to get in his way. The client specifically requested you be there, so get your ass over here now," she snapped. "If you screw this up, don't even think about showing your face at the company ever again." I popped a slice of orange into my mouth. "As you wish," I said. "Consider this my voluntary resignation." Ignoring Isabel's sputtering on the other end, I hung up the phone. After being discharged, I took a taxi back to my apartment. I packed my things, and before leaving, I took one last look at the place I had called home for 4 years. Isabel and I were childhood sweethearts. Our parents had even arranged for us to be engaged. But then her father died unexpectedly, and our relatives circled like vultures, ready to pick apart her inheritance. Isabel would call me crying every day, terrified she wouldn't be able to hold on to her family's company. So, the moment I graduated, I went to work for her, helping to manage things. That was the sweet phase of our relationship. She would write me pink love letters every day, boldly declaring her passionate love for me. She meticulously documented all the little moments we shared, compiling them into a handmade photo album filled with our memories. We took a pottery class together and treasured the lopsided creations we made as precious keepsakes. But that all changed 2 years ago when her company was doing charity work. Isabel sponsored a student in need, and that's when she met Leo. After that, our relationship began to cool. I tried to talk to her about it, but she just complained that I was too focused on work and never spent any time with her. She said I lived like an old man and was no fun anymore. But at the time, her company was still in a precarious position, and I didn't dare let up for a second. Soon, she started staying out all night. Leo would invite her out to bars to go clubbing. They would race motorcycles recklessly on winding mountain roads and camp on mountaintops to watch the stars. 3 months ago, Isabel invited Leo to join the company as her personal assistant, and she doted on him constantly. When I came home exhausted from work and tried to hug her, she would push me away, only to turn around and give Leo a shoulder massage. I suggested we get a puppy to raise together, but she flatly refused. And yet, she happily went with Leo to rescue a whole group of stray animals. She completely forgot our anniversary this year, but then turned around and threw a lavish, romantic surprise birthday party for Leo. Remembering all this, I couldn't help but sneer. I took out my phone and booked the earliest flight home for the next morning. I plan to spend some time with my parents before heading overseas for my new job. A week later, Isabel called me out of the blue. "My mom said she hasn't seen you in a while and wants you to come over for dinner. You know what not to say. Don't you dare go running your mouth to her." I agreed. After all, her mother, Mrs. Vaughn, had always been very kind to me. It seemed like the perfect opportunity to officially end things and call off the engagement. At her house, I helped out in the kitchen, making small talk with Mrs. Vaughn. Just as I was wondering how to bring up the subject, the doorbell rang. Isabel had arrived, and following close behind her was Leo. I wasn't surprised. "Mom," Isabel announced, "this is my friend, Leo. He just got off work and is here to snag a free meal." After her announcement, she rolled her eyes at me and then stalked into the living room. I didn't even bother looking at her. Leo, eager to curry favor with Isabel's mother, cheerfully announced that he would help in the kitchen too. I heard Mrs. Vaughn gently chide Isabel. "Why are you giving Ethan such a hard time the moment you walk in the door? What's the matter with you? He just got back from a long business trip overseas. You should be a little more considerate. Ethan has been working so hard for the company lately. You need to take better care of him. And how are the plans for the engagement party next week coming along? The venue, the preparations, the guest list, we can't put it off any longer." The party had originally been scheduled for our 4th anniversary, but Isabel had been too busy planning Leo's birthday celebration. She had actually left in the middle of our own anniversary dinner to go be with him. I pursed my lips, grateful now that the party had been postponed. With everyone present, I was about to make my announcement, but Leo, a venomous look on his face, blocked my path. "Ethan, don't look so smug," he sneered. "Isabel is never going to marry you. You're just a pathetic gold digger who she doesn't even love." As he spoke, he grabbed the pot of hot soup from the stove and deliberately poured it over his own arm. "I'm the only one for Isabel. No one else can even dream of taking her from me. Now, guess who she's going to believe when she sees what you've done to me?" A plate crashed to the floor, shattering loudly. The sound immediately drew everyone from the living room. I just curled my lips into a cold smile, not reacting at all. "Lau, what happened?" Isabel cried, rushing over and forcefully shoving me aside to check the angry red blisters already forming on his arm. Leo whimpered. "Ethan said I wasn't welcome here, and that he'd beat me up if he saw me again." Seeing Leo's tear-streaked face, Isabel looked at me as if she wanted to murder me. She pointed a finger in my face and began to scream, "Ethan, did you come here just to cause trouble? What could Leo have possibly done to you to make you hurt him like this? You apologize to him right now, or I swear I will never forgive you." Mrs. Vaughn tried to de-escalate the situation, tugging on Isabel's sleeve to get her to stop. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. I looked at Leo, who was still putting on his award-winning performance. "The project, you can have it," I said. Then I looked at Isabel. "And you can have her, too. I don't want her anymore." Isabel was stunned, staring at me in disbelief. "Ethan, what are you talking about?" she demanded. Her expression hardened as she threatened. "I suggest you stop this right now. If you keep this up, there's no coming back from it. Take a look in the mirror. Who would want a useless freeloader like you? If you have any sense of shame left, I'm giving you 1 minute to apologize and take back everything you just said." After graduation, I had turned my back on a promising future, rejecting countless high-paying offers from top-tier companies. I worked like a dog for the Vaughn family, and now I saw it was all for nothing. I had been nurturing a snake in my own home. "It means exactly what I said," I replied calmly. "We're done. I think you two are a much better match." I then turned, pulled the digital recorder from my pocket, and handed it to a confused Mrs. Vaughn. "Mrs. Vaughn, you should cancel the engagement party," I said apologetically. "I won't be staying for dinner. I'll visit you again when I have the chance." The moment I stepped onto the plane, I felt a lightness in my body and soul that I hadn't felt in years. I no longer had to work myself to the bone for Isabel's company. I no longer had to sit at home, worrying and waiting for her to come back from her all-night adventures. I no longer had to feel my heart break every time I saw her flirting with another man. I thought I would be miserable for a while, nursing a broken heart. But the past few days at home had left me feeling full and content. I let go of the job that had consumed my every waking hour. I spent my days talking and eating with my parents, and I went shopping and hung out with my old friends. During this period, Leo sent me a stream of photos. There was one of Isabel with him at a soccer game in Europe. There was another of them together in the Maldives, staring out at the crystal blue water. In another, they were in Turkey watching colorful hot air balloons drift into the sky. And in France, they posed in front of the majestic Eiffel Tower as it pierced the clouds. I remember a time I finally had a break from work and suggested Isabel and I take a trip together. She had looked at me coldly, her impatience etched on her face. "Oh, give it a rest," she'd snapped. "What fun would a trip with you even be? I'd rather stay home alone than travel with you. Now stop pestering me." My phone buzzed with another message from Leo. "Hey, Ethan," it read. "Isabel has taken me to so many amazing places. It seems like she's completely forgotten all about you." I lowered my eyes and slowly typed my reply. People who are insecure are the ones who feel the need to show off the most. It looks like, for all your globetrotting, she still hasn't actually committed to you. You don't need to send me updates anymore. I don't care. The typing indicator popped up on his end, but I blocked his number before he could reply. The next morning, I was woken up by an early call from Isabel. "HR just forwarded me your resignation letter," she said. "Ethan, are you done with this little game of yours? It's been days, and you still haven't come to apologize." I sneered. She actually thought me breaking up with her was just another childish tantrum. In the past, whenever we fought, she would give me the silent treatment until I was the one who broke down and begged for her forgiveness, usually by buying her expensive jewelry or designer bags. She would then carelessly toss my peace offerings in a drawer, forgotten. Meanwhile, she would treat the cheap trinkets Leo gave her like priceless treasures, displaying them proudly in her car. "Where the hell have you been, anyway?" she demanded. "I stopped by your apartment, and you're never there." "Ethan, I'm warning you. You're too old to be pulling this kind of stunt, running away from home. Look at Leo. He's younger than you, and he's not nearly as stubborn." I gave a long, slow yawn. "Isabel," I said, enunciating each word clearly. "Do I need to say it again? We broke up. Where I go is none of your business. Just find some time to sign the divorce papers." With that, I hung up. I wasn't expecting Isabel to actually show up at my parents' house, but she did. At that exact moment, I was in the front yard, chatting with my former colleague, Chloe. She had heard I was leaving for my overseas post the next day and had come to say goodbye. When Isabel saw Chloe standing there, her hands began to tremble with rage. She lunged forward and grabbed a handful of Chloe's hair. "Ethan, who is this?" Isabel shrieked. "No wonder you wanted to break up and call off the engagement. You've already found someone new, haven't you? How could you do this to me?" Chloe looked at Isabel, stunned to see the CEO of our old company on my doorstep. I gave Chloe an apologetic smile and motioned for her to go. Then, ignoring Isabel's struggles, I dragged her to her car so we could talk. It wasn't that I actually wanted to talk to her. I just didn't want her making a scene in front of my parents' house. Inside the car, Isabel grabbed my arm. "Ethan, is this all just some big ploy to get me to finally marry you?" "Fine. I agree. I won't back out of the engagement party next week," she declared. I was about to reply when I spotted a piece of folded paper tucked into the console. I picked it up. The words "in vitro fertilization consent form" were printed clearly at the top. At the bottom were the signatures of Isabel Vaughn and Leo Sterling, written in black ink. The form was dated 2 months ago. A chill shot up my spine, a cold wave that seemed to short-circuit my entire brain. Isabel's face went deathly pale. She swallowed hard. "Ethan, it's not what you think," she stammered. I didn't actually go through with it. The agreement was voided in the end. You know, Leo had just graduated, and all he had in the world was me and his grandmother. His grandma was seriously ill, and her dying wish was to see a great-grandchild. Leo didn't know what else to do, so he asked me to. I cut her off, the absurdity of the situation making me want to laugh. "What exactly do you take me for, Isabel? Do you think I'm such a pushover that you can just walk all over me like this again and again? You keep telling me he's just like a little brother to you, trying to have it both ways while you make a complete fool out of me. Is it fun, Isabel? Do you enjoy it?" Isabel's expression was strained as she tried to placate me, but I continued. "Where were you on our anniversary? In front of all our friends and family. You left me sitting alone so you could go to Leo's birthday party. While I was overseas, did you call me even once to see if I was okay? No. You were too busy scheming to make Leo the new general manager, handing him the project I bled for on a silver platter. And that night, at the banquet, you left me to die in a fire. My leg was broken. I couldn't move. Did you give a damn whether I lived or died? Even when I begged you not to leave me, you didn't even look back. You just left with Leo. I pried Isabel's fingers off my arm, one by one. From now on, whatever you do is none of my concern. We are through. I opened the car door and stepped out onto the street. Isabel grabbed the hem of my shirt, her eyes red with panic, finally looking scared. Ethan, wait. You promised when we started dating that you would only ever love me. You swore that no matter what I did, you would always forgive me, that you would never break up with me. We had been an enviable couple. Our friends always said I spoiled her rotten. But things are different now. The cheerful sound of a custom ringtone suddenly shattered the silence in the car. It was Leo's special ringtone. Isabel answered the call, her expression tense. Leo's panicked voice came through the speaker. Isabel, my panic attacks are starting again. I'm so scared and I'm all alone. Can you please come over? She glanced at me guiltily, then spoke softly into the phone. Then she turned to me. Ethan, just wait for me at home. I have to go. Back when we were doing that survey in the mountains, some guys tried to harass me. Leo saved me, and he's had severe panic attacks ever since. He's like a little brother to me, she pleaded. He doesn't have any other family. He's all alone. I'll just go check on him, and then I'll come right back and explain everything. I just sneered silently and turned to walk away. I pulled the SIM card out of my phone and tossed it in the nearest trash can. I was leaving the country the next day, and none of this was my problem anymore. But then, the unexpected happened. Just as I was about to board my flight, my parents called. They told me to get to the hospital immediately. Apparently, Isabel had run a red light the night before and gotten into a car accident. She had been so frightened that she passed out at the scene. When they took her to the hospital, they discovered she was 3 months pregnant. Now, standing at her bedside, I silently met her gaze. To be honest, the moment I heard the news, my first thought was to wonder whose child it really was. Isabel gently stroked her stomach, her expression soft. When she looked up at me, she put on an aggrieved face and went on the offensive. You were always so busy with work, she said. You never had any time for me. That's why I started spending more time with Leo. Then she took my hand and said with sincerity, Ethan, let's get back together. Nothing ever really happened between me and Leo. It's always been you. I promise. I'll keep my distance from him from now on. Let's just live a happy life together. I remained silent, my expression unmoved. Perhaps my skepticism was too obvious because her tone quickly shifted to anger. Ethan, you were always the one begging me to take you back after every fight. Now I'm the one humbling myself. What more do you want from me? This child is yours, she insisted. Just then, Mrs. Vaughn came over and patted my shoulder. Ethan, I watched you two grow up. Isabel is just a bit high-strung and playful, but she's loved you since you were kids. And I've checked with the doctors. The child is definitely yours. Please, just forgive her this one time. The engagement party for next week is already arranged. I had always trusted Mrs. Vaughn. My own parents also came to persuade me, telling me to think carefully before making a rash decision. It was clear they were excited about the prospect of a grandchild. After a long silence, I finally gave in and nodded. As I walked out of the hospital room, I called Mr. Harrison to postpone my start date for the overseas position, arranging to work remotely for the time being. I had given Isabel another chance, but deep down, I was filled with doubt. Could she really change? Could we really move on from this? After she was discharged, Isabel was like a different person, acting just like she had when we first started dating. She stopped contacting Leo completely and started being warm and considerate toward me. She went home and decorated a nursery in pastel pink. She was constantly buying new baby clothes, bottles, and diapers to add to the growing collection. She started watching parenting tutorials online, reading every parenting book she could find, and learning everything there was to know about baby care. Seeing how eagerly she was preparing for the baby's arrival, my own hardened attitude began to soften. Isabel, who had never cooked for me, now prepared healthy, elaborate breakfast for me every morning. She started watching all of my favorite movies with me. When she was out shopping for the baby, she would also pick out new suits and ties for me. Yesterday, after her prenatal checkup. She even stopped by a pet store and brought home the Samoyed puppy I'd always wanted. I started to think that maybe we could just live peacefully like this and leave all the unhappiness of the past behind us. But you can't glue a broken mirror back together perfectly. It was all just a fragile illusion of peace. That evening, Leo called Isabel's phone. Seeing that she was asleep, I took the call out on the balcony. "Isabel," he began. I cut him off. "What do you want with her?" The other end of the line went silent, except for the sound of heavy breathing. After a long pause, just as I was about to hang up, he finally spoke. "Ethan, you're the one who's stopping Isabel from seeing me, aren't you?" he accused. "It's not like I'm tying her down. She can go wherever she wants. It's her choice whether she sees me or not." Leo, flustered, told me to shut up. "Why are you pretending to be so noble?" he spat angrily. "You must be feeling pretty smug right now, huh? You already have everything. A loving family, a great career. What more could you possibly want? You selfish bastard. Isabel is all I have left. Why do you have to take her from me? If I'd known it would turn out like this, I would have made sure you never walked out of that banquet hall alive. You just got lucky." I frowned, a cold feeling creeping up my spine as I tightened my grip on the phone. When Isabel first wanted to sponsor Leo, even suggesting he stay with us temporarily, I had been strongly against it. I could see the twisted, obsessive nature lurking beneath his charming facade. But I had never imagined he could be this ruthless. It had just been a suspicion before, but now, everything clicked into place. He was the one who attacked me during the fire. My expression darkened instantly. "Leo, do you really think I'm some naive fool you can just manipulate?" I said coldly, and here I was wondering why Isabel was so willing to come back to me. "It seems she hasn't told you the whole story." He finished with one final, ominous line. "Ethan, you just wait. Soon enough, you'll see who Isabel really loves." I hung up the phone, unable to stomach any more of his poison. After thinking for a moment, I contacted Chloe and asked for her help with something at Isabel's company. Then, I made one more call to a childhood friend of mine, a top-tier hacker, to ask for a favor. After setting everything in motion, I went back to the bedroom. I watched Isabel sleep for a long time, staying awake the entire night. But in the end, she still let me down. Recently, Isabel had started spending over an hour in the bathroom with her phone every time she showered, when it used to take her 20 minutes at most. She also started spacing out all the time, often not even hearing me when I spoke to her. I pretended not to notice any of these changes. I was just waiting to see what choice she would make this time. This morning, as we were taking a walk, Isabel carefully broached the subject. "Ethan, you know that overseas development project you secured last month? Leo told me he's been running into some problems with it. I want to go into the office and check on things." I handed her a cup of herbal tea. "There's no need," I said calmly. "Just stay home and focus on your health. I've already arranged for some new people to join the team. As long as Leo doesn't actively sabotage things, the project will be fine." She still wouldn't let it go. A little while later, she tried again. "You know, in a few days, it's the anniversary of Leo's grandmother's death. She was such a kind, gentle woman. Remember when we were doing that survey up in the mountains? His grandmother made us that amazing stew. Ethan, I think we should go pay our respects." I gently touched her small baby bump and refused once more. "At your last checkup, the doctor specifically said you need to rest and avoid any stress right now. Don't worry, I'll send someone to pay our respects on our behalf." Hearing this, Isabel slammed her teacup down on the table. She saw my unyielding expression, opened her mouth to argue, but then thought better of it. Later that evening, while I was out buying groceries, she secretly took her car and left. She left only a short note on the table. "Ethan, Leo is at a business dinner tonight, and he said the client is giving him a hard time and forcing him to drink a lot. I'm worried about him, so I'm just going to check on things. I promise I'll be right back." The cookbook of recipes for expectant mothers that I was holding slipped from my grasp. I sat in the silent living room, dejected, until the sun came up. Isabel did not come home. I couldn't help but shake my head and let out a bitter laugh. I remember the time I drank so much schmoozing a client that I ended up with a bleeding ulcer, and she hadn't batted an eye. Yet Leo could call her away at a moment's notice, for any reason. Time and time again, She chose him over me. I took out my phone, found the anonymous number I'd been given, and sent a text message. A rediscovered treasure is the sweetest. True love speaks for itself. Only desperate old men have to claw their way to the top. The reply was a photo. It was Isabel, her cheeks flushed, lying in a bed. On the pale skin of her chest were several distinct red marks and the clear imprint of fingers. The image struck me like a bolt of lightning, plunging me instantly into my own personal hell. I couldn't help but ask myself, why did I ever believe she would change? How many more chances was I supposed to give her? I was an idiot, completely and utterly defeated. As I opened my phone to book a one-way flight, a call came in from the hospital. "Are you Mr. Ethan Hayes, Isabel Vaughn's husband?" A nurse asked urgently. "You need to come to the hospital to sign some forms as soon as possible. She's had a threatened miscarriage. The situation is critical, and she needs to go into surgery immediately." After Isabel was wheeled into the operating room, I called my parents to let them know what was happening. Then I just sat there in the waiting room, silent. A threatened miscarriage. The reason for it couldn't have been more obvious. I asked the doctor to perform a paternity test. From the sympathetic look he gave me, I knew he understood. But all I felt was a profound sense of relief, as if a heavy chain had finally been broken. Leo was pacing frantically in front of the operating room doors, muttering to himself. I was so careful. How could this have happened? He turned and saw me, and his face twisted into a mask of pure resentment. "Ethan, this is all your fault," he shrieked. "If you hadn't tried to keep Isabel away from me, she wouldn't have had to sneak out, and our baby would still be okay. You're a murderer." I gave him a look of pure, cold hatred and then lunged, punching him again and again. "Who's the real murderer here, Leo? You know damn well who it is. Did you really think I would just let that go? I have the restored surveillance footage from the fire." The light above the operating room door turned green, and Isabel was wheeled out into a recovery room. Ignoring Leo, who was lying on the floor behind me like a sack of garbage, I walked over to the nurse's station to pick up the expedited paternity test results. Just as I expected, under the genetic match column, the report clearly stated exclusion. It wasn't that I hadn't been suspicious, but I never imagined that Mrs. Vaughn, who was always such a moral, upstanding person, would have conspired with her daughter to deceive me. They had hidden the truth about the IVF from me. Back in the recovery room, Isabel was awake. Her eyes were red-rimmed as she looked at me with guilt. "The baby, it's gone," she whispered. "Ethan, I'm so sorry. I was just going to check on him and then come right home," she explained, but the client was so persistent about me having a drink. I couldn't say no, and I ended up getting drunk. I just booked a room at the hotel to sleep it off. Then this morning, I got into that accident on the way home. I cut her off. "So you're saying you were alone all night?" She nodded her head vigorously. I opened the photo on my phone and held the screen in front of her face. Isabel's expression froze. She opened her mouth to argue, but I tossed the paternity test results onto the bed in front of her. "Ethan, listen to me," she started, but then she began flipping through the pages. Her body went rigid as the realization of what she was holding finally dawned on her. She reached for me, her legs giving out from under her as she slid to her knees beside the bed. She clutched at my pant leg, her eyes streaming with tears. "They only had one room left at the hotel," she sobbed. "Last night, it was an accident. I was drunk, and Leo was just helping me back to my room. I don't remember what happened after that. I just woke up, and he was there in the bed with me. I was just afraid you would be angry if I told you the truth. And the baby, I can explain." "Isabel, you disgust me," I said, my voice flat. "Take care of yourself, and don't ever contact me again." I walked out of the hospital and hailed a cab to the airport. This time, there was no one left to stop me. I suddenly realized it wasn't too late. My life wasn't over. Everything could still be salvaged. After I landed and went through customs, I found a real estate agent and rented a small apartment. Once I was settled, I forwarded the legal documents I had prepared to my lawyer back in the States. Leo had tried to murder me in that fire and had destroyed the surveillance tapes. But with the help of my hacker friend, we had painstakingly restored the footage. I knew Leo's character all too well, so I had arranged for Chloe to join the project team to keep an eye on him. Just as I'd expected, He had colluded with the manager from the client's company and was taking a massive amount of kickbacks. I had Chloe send me copies of all the evidence, including the financial records, and I forwarded them to the heads of both companies. With all of that finally taken care of, I threw myself completely into my new life. The company I now worked for was a leader in the industry, with access to countless cutting-edge resources and projects. I was eager to prove myself. Slowly but surely, everything was starting to get better. Sometime later, Chloe called me with all the latest gossip. She told me Leo was being sued for aggravated assault, and because the kickback scheme had been exposed, he had been blacklisted by the entire industry. The two companies had lost all trust in one another, and their big partnership had completely fallen apart. Hearing the relief in Chloe's voice, I chuckled to myself. She paused for a moment, then asked tentatively, "That overseas project completely fell through." Isabel is in a total panic. It looks like the Vaughn family's company might not survive this. Are you worried at all? I cut her off. It has nothing to do with me anymore, I said. But if you ever want to come out here and try your luck, you know you've always got a place to stay. Chloe giggled on the other end of the line. Okay then, she said playfully, it's a deal. And she hung up. A week later, Isabel actually flew overseas to find me. A colleague stopped by my office to tell me I had a visitor waiting for me in the lobby. I called down to the front desk and discovered it was Isabel. I didn't go down to meet her. There was no point. Seeing that I was refusing to see her, she sent me an iMessage. Ethan, I know I was wrong. I really, truly know it this time. Can you please just give me one more chance? I fired Leo, the message continued. I've cut off all contact with him. I've finally realized that you're the one I've always loved. The company can't survive without you. I can't survive without you. I blocked her number. An apology that comes too late is meaningless. Why couldn't she have realized this sooner? I heard she waited in the lobby until after dark, even as a storm raged outside, but I didn't care. Realizing I wouldn't change my mind, Isabel finally returned to the States in disgrace. 3 days later, I got a call from an unknown number. I answered it, and Isabel's voice, thick with a crazed pain, came through the line. Ethan, she said, her voice unhinged. While Leo was out on bail, I asked him to go out for a drink. I pretended to get drunk, and then I drugged him. He's the reason we broke up. Ethan, please just come back to me. She actually thought that if Leo were out of the picture, we could get back together. So, buckling under the pressure of her company going bankrupt, the banks calling in her debts, and her own relatives trying to carve up the remains, she had a complete mental breakdown. She drugged Leo and then stabbed him. Leo didn't die, but the attack left him partially paralyzed. In the end, they turned on each other, filled with nothing but hatred and blame. Both of them ended up in prison. Chloe finished her story and took the last sip of her tea, letting out a long sigh. I just shook my head and smiled at her. So, she asked, you're not heartbroken at all? I didn't say anything, just gave her a gentle flick on the forehead. So, what kind of position does the new CEO of Sterling have in mind for me? You'll find out when you get there, she said, then suddenly stepped in front of me, a playful look on her face. Hey, Ethan, she said, half joking, why don't you consider me? A gentle breeze, carrying the sweet scent of magnolias, drifted past, making Chloe's ponytail dance in the wind. I just gave her a mysterious smile, not answering her question. I began to walk with her toward our new office. After all, the road ahead was long, and we were just getting started. The end.